Hello dear students, today my topic is the Bhopal disaster. While most of the population slept during the night of December 3, 1984, a toxic cloud of over 40 tons of methyl isocyanate, MIC, gas escaped from a Union Carbide, UCC, plant in Bhopal, India. Heavier than air, the lethal gas blanketed slums surrounding the facility and spread over the city of 800,000 people. At least 3,000 died immediately. Although accurate numbers are hard to come by, it is estimated that up to 20,000 people may have died prematurely and 500,000 were injured. The mortality rate for those exposed to the gas was almost a third higher than those who were not exposed, and they are twice as likely to die of cancers and 3 times more susceptible to kidney disease. According to medical reports, current residents exhibit compromised immune systems, growth retardation, and miscarriage rates 7 times the national average. Children have unusually high rates of muscular dystrophy, autism, and learning difficulties, among other conditions. Infant mortality is twice the national average. It would be better if there was another gas leak which would put us out of our misery, said a resident. Just let it end. This is not life, this is not death. We are in the terrible place in between. The chemical plant, long defunct, has polluted the local aquifers with carcinogens and exposed open puddles of toxic waste. Local municipal workers into the area without any protective gear. Meanwhile, both UCC and the Indian government deny any culpability or obligation to remediate the effects of the disaster. A decade before the disaster, India had actively solicited investment by foreign companies and formed a joint venture with UCC to build a plant producing 7, a common pesticide. However, by the early 1980s the Bhopal facility was operating at 1/4 of its capacity due to poor harvests, a reduction in the capital available to farmers, and lack of demand. In 1982, a visiting UCC team declared the factory unsafe. By July 1984 the plant was for sale and UCC was planning to dismantle some components for shipment elsewhere. However, despite cutbacks and warnings the plant continued to operate. After the event, UCC maintained that the spill was due to deliberate sabotage by a disgruntled employee. Whether or not that is correct, other independent investigations have pointed to poor maintenance and lax safety controls leading to water mixing with the volatile MIC after several fail-safe mechanisms failed to operate, and found that the health and safety standards were well below those of its sister plant in West Virginia. In 1989, the government of India negotiated a deal with UCC on behalf of the victims, restricting lawsuits to Indian courts. The company paid $470 million in compensation and accepted moral responsibility with an average settlement to the bereaved of about $2,200. In return, all pending legal action against the company was dropped. Nevertheless, the regional courts charged CEO Warren Anderson personally with manslaughter, and, when he failed to appear, seized UCC's Indian assets, including the now defunct and polluted plant. The company insisted that all claims arising from the gas release were discharged by the settlement and denied any enduring responsibility, maintaining that the regional government had now taken control of the situation. The central Indian government considers cleanup efforts to be a local responsibility, but the state of Madhya Pradesh has not been active in doing so, saying only the federal government has the required resources. In 2006, local activists walked 500 miles to the capital Delhi to demand action, apparently without much response from the government. In 2010, the Indian government submitted a petition to Dow Chemical, the successor company to UCC, to improve the earlier inadequate compensation. Documents from the organization WikiLeaks indicate that when the Indian government sought to renegotiate the settlement they met resistance from American authorities who did not want to chill American investment in the country. As Dow's website comments, although Dow never owned or operated the plant and was not connected to the event, we learned from the tragedy and do all we can to ensure that similar accidents never happen again. The tragedy no longer appears on the municipal corporation's website. In recent years, India's economy has grown steadily at about 7% a year, outpacing many more developed countries. This is in part spurred by World Trade Organization rulings since 2000 that encourage foreign investment. Some commentators link the rapid growth and industrialization with poor environmental practices, dumping of pollutants, and risks to public health.